Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the greatest animated series of all time, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Cue the music. Set in a fantasy world where people can bend one of four elements. The Avatar is the master of all of them, and he's the protector of the world, but he vanishes. And now, 100 years later, Aang, I love Aang, the new Avatar must save the world from the Fire Nation.
Yes, you should all know this story.
Because Aang, you can save the world. Okay.
Before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
Absolutely. Yes, we finally doing this podcast, and soon we'll also be doing the live action atrocity Avatar: The Last Airbender live action movie.
That should have never, ever been made.
But now we're going to talk about one of the best things ever.
Yes.
So yes, we know that you've seen this, whomever you are.
I think almost everybody on the planet has seen the show.
This. So you can just go down memory lane and enjoy the ride.
Yes. Now, because we know just about everybody on the planet has seen this, and we can always find new people that have never seen it too, and still watching along with them and say, hey, remember this part? You want to see this part, this episode? You can never get enough of The Last Airbender.
In full disclosure, because we can never get enough, every year we watch the entire series in the summer from beginning to end.
Not December, the summer.
Not December, the summer. I'm combining December and summer.
Why? Is that a new month?
I guess because it's like Christmas whenever we watch it.
Right.
Yes, we watch it from beginning to end every summer.
And with it available on Netflix, even more people can watch it now without having to pull out their DVDs.
That's correct. And also, Legend of Korra.
Right. And yes, we have covered The Legend of Korra. We did a little bit of reversal, so you might want to check that out too after you watch this one if you haven't already seen it.
And we'll have a link attached for you to easily access it.
Yes. Now, yes, we know the story of Aang, who is the last airbender. And he goes on a journey to learn the four elements and defeat the Fire Lord.
Well, three elements. He already knows how to airbend.
Right. Thank goodness. So he has to stop the Fire Lord from destroying the world.
The Father Lord.
Yeah, you mean the Fire Lord.
That's what I said.
He has to stop the Father Lord from destroying the world before Sozin's Comet arises. He's going to use it to wipe out everything and have a whole Fire Nation world. So that's pretty much the show, with Aang traveling with Sokka and Katara, who free him from the iceberg, and they travel with him so he can learn the other elements and stop him.
The things that make this series a standout is the storytelling and the writing and the animation and the very unique and well-developed characters, the music that absolutely fits in every episode. The arcs are engaging and captivating, and the villains are also just as engaging as the main characters.
Right.
The people that they meet along are also engaging. It has a fantastic finish, and it has a happy ending, because you know how I love happy endings. And there's absolutely nothing to dislike about this show for me. I don't care. Even the episode that everyone says they hate, I don't hate it.
Right.
I think it could have been not done, but I love everything about this show.
Right. And there's just so many episodes. You know, it's only 3 seasons, only a certain amount.
Only.
Right. But you can have just so many favorite ones, even if it is the one people seem to not care for.
Right.
I know my favorite is the Ember Island Players, because not only is it a brilliant recap of everything that's happened so far, because it's right before the 4-part series finale,
which is my favorite.
It also has the characters reacting to the Fire Nation's horrendously accurate yet inaccurate depiction of Team Avatar and their adventures.
Which became I would have to say, the blueprint for every series ever since it's ever existed. Now everyone always has an Ember Island players type episode in their series.
Right. And even so, and usually with recap episodes, whether anime or not, they're usually considered filler, unimportant, it's a clip show, they don't want to do it, so forth. But Avatar took full advantage of it, and everything hit well with it. And it's considered the greatest recap episode of all time.
Yes.
Because everything about it is fantastic, especially Avatar say, yep, I don't say that. I don't act like that. And also, one hilarious part I never realized till a few years later is that the Fire Nation shipped Zuko and Katara.
Yes.
When the Fire Nation ships them, that was like, what's supposed to be enemies? What are you doing?
Aang was played by a girl, which he hated, and Toph was played by a big, muscle-grown man, which she loved.
Right? I wouldn't cast it any other way. At least not a flying ball lady. And Zuko was like, they made me look totally stiff and humorless. I think he's spot on. How could you say that? And then the actress says, how could you say that?
And the scar is on the wrong side.
The scar is not on the wrong side.
But there's so many episodes that you mentioned to love about this series. And it seems that everything's perfect.
Yes.
Everything is in the exact order that it should happen, that it should occur, and the backstories are so beautifully interwoven amongst the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you have a bunch of episodes and then you're stopped and taken off track and then there's a backstory. It never happens that way. They're always beautifully interwoven into the episodes where there's not a detour. It's always just perfectly put into the story.
Right. And all the characters you're really engaged with, whether they're heroes, villains, anti-heroes, anti-villains, reform, turn to the dark side, whatever. They're all just so interesting, and you want to see what happens with everybody.
Definitely.
And not to mention, they also had great voice casting, like with Jack Desna, Mae Whitman, Jack Tyler Edison, and then
Dante Bosco?
Yeah, Dante Bosco. And probably at the time, the biggest one was Mark Hamill.
Yes, and Mako. Let's not forget him.
Mako.
He passed away during the series itself, but he was wonderful as Uncle Iroh.
Right.
And he was the biggest star there because he had been doing movies. We actually saw him in a movie our Nana was watching that was from the 1950s, and he was in a live action movie. So he'd been an actor for decades.
Oh, wow.
And he was world acclaimed, and just as you knew from the character, you absolutely loved Uncle Iroh.
Right. And Iroh is such a really lovable character.
Yes.
Everyone wants an Uncle Iroh.
Yes.
With the jasmine tea. It's like, how much tea can you drink? And you also see, like, there's different character dynamics you don't expect. Like, there's, like, one-off characters that you'll meet up with again with main characters, or side characters that they get rid of one episode and suddenly they come back and they're main ones, or they attribute somehow to the story. Even ones like when they had the Nomads. One episode, never see them again, but you still remember them. Especially with Secret Tunnel!
And another thing that really sets the series apart is, you know, there's always a lot of complaints about character development, there being none in different series. Every single character that appeared in this series as a main character, or even secondary, there was character development. Every single one. Even the villain. And it wasn't development in terms of him being better, but development as in you're knowing not only his backstory, what's his motivation, and how his end comes, and not the way you expect because of another character's development. Right. So it's just, again, brilliant. Character development for every single main and secondary character just doesn't happen.
Right.
It happened one time, and that's in this series.
Right. And another favorite episode I know from Mamas has to be the Avatar and the Fire Lord and the Storm. Both are episodes with interwoven backstories.
Absolutely.
Because Avatar and the Fire Lord showed how Roku and Sozin were connected, and in the Storm is how Aang and Zuko were connected.
And again, they're interwoven all into the same episode beautifully.
Right.
I mean, the writers of this show should have gotten Emmys a long time ago when this show aired, but somehow, some way, they didn't.
Exactly. And we know the team later did Legend of Korra and Voltron and Dragon Prince and other shows. But before this became a huge thing to do, whether you're on Netflix or not, you expected them to have tons of awards. And, they did, but it didn't come until way later after the show was done.
Right.
Because at the time it came out, heck yeah, people were watching it, but they didn't expect it to keep being long-lasting after it was over.
And they kept considering, because it was a Nickelodeon, a silly kid show.
Right.
Not having watched it or known what it was about. And I think it's wonderful you brought that up, because a lot of people, including myself, didn't get to really love and appreciate it until after it was gone. And in watching the series on DVD over and over and over.
Right.
And what I love is that this is like a good book that you read, and every time you read it, you find out something new, or you uncover something that you missed. And this show is the same way. I don't care how many times we've watched this series over and over. We find something we didn't notice, or there's a nuance that reveals itself, or we learn to appreciate something more, and we enjoy it like we've never seen it. And that's just a culmination of everything coming together perfectly. And you're going to hear me use perfect for this series all the time.
Right.
But it's just that perfect that every single time you watch it, it's like a new adventure from beginning to end. And it doesn't matter, how it starts and how it ends. But the ride and the thrill of watching it is always fantastic every single time.
Exactly. And even now, like, people covered it, whether they were viewers or first-time watchers, or even if it was outside of what they review, they would cover it. Like Nostalgia Critic.
Which is the best one we've ever seen, where he had Dante Bosco as a guest.
Right.
Honor
for the best top 11 best episodes. And when he covered the quote-unquote worst, which he didn't even believe were any worst ones. And then he covered the live-action movie, which was hilarious.
Yes.
And even with, it was already popular to begin with, and it's been popular ever since then. But it just exploded again, because when it came to Netflix, not only could new people get into it, more, the people watched it before started binge watching all over again, started covering it.
Yes.
And they even got...
We did.
Right. And they even got to a point where they're covering all the, not just the characters, but the philosophies, the messages, the parallels to real life. It got really existential. Even with like with Vulture, it got really existential to the point like all of this was in a kid's show.
And best of all, this show was #1 on Netflix for not 1, not 2, but over 3 weeks.
Right.
Of it airing.
Right.
Of becoming a permanent part of Netflix.
Right.
That just doesn't happen. It beat out all the new things, all the older things. It beat out everything.
Right. It broke a Netflix record.
Yes.
And it's just incredible, because it just shows that no matter how long it's been, people still watch it, and there will always be new people that watch it.
And you also love when you hear the same character, or voice actors I should say, appear in other shows such as Jack Desna in The Dragon Prince.
Right.
And they make references to the show. But when you hear them in other series, it's just wonderful to hear them, whether it be Avatar or Legend of Korra, which we've heard some of those actors in Voltron.
Right.
But it's wonderful when you hear them, because for some reason you automatically get nostalgic and you think about, oh, it's the Avatar, it's this character, and you never call them by their name. Oh, it's Sokka!
It's Sokka's Instinct!
Yes. And you love it because, 1, you love the voice actors, but 2, you know that quality is going to be brought to whatever series they're in. You know it's going to be a great ride. You know it's got to be darn good if they're voicing the character. And you're going, okay, here's another character for me to love.
Right.
And it's just wonderful. I think that they don't get enough voice acting work. Hint, hint. Give them all more work.
Right. And another thing I would like to mention, because when you get to the end of the series, there is, of course, the one mystery that did not get solved, and is what happened to Zuko's mother. Because they had mentioned her many times, and you never really saw, they kind of hinted at it, and people thought, oh, a book 4, but it never happened.
Now, also, for those who don't know, take us through how there were supposed to be movies, another series, and how that train ride ended in derailment.
Yes, a little bit after the show had ended, the creators have played with the idea of to continue on the story, but since the series is over, do like some mini movies. And the comics that you see now were originally going to be TV movies for Nickelodeon to do, where like maybe once a year they would have a movie for a new arc. And the first movie went about finding Zuko's mom. Second one would be Keeping a Promise. Second one would be about Northern and Southern Water Tribe and so forth. There were all these different adventures that would have there would be movies.
Right.
But so they had that to offer Nickelodeon, and then of course Legend of Korra, which would be the sequel series to go after Aang. Nickelodeon felt like they didn't need to work on Avatar anymore because they already had a huge fan base. So they declined the movies.
One of the worst decisions Nickelodeon's ever made.
And decided to get some more new people and bring back even more people with a whole new series. So they end up just making the stories into the comics instead of movies.
And then this year, as we're recording this, we got a false start hearing that they were going to have continuation on, a live action series on Netflix.
Right.
And then, the fandom got excited. We were, hallelujah and celebrating, crying with tears of joy. Thank you, Netflix. We love you. And then we hear that the writer's back out of the deal.
Right.
No explanation given, no reason, and we're left high and dry.
Yeah, which is strange. I mean, we know the original live action movie was not good in the slightest. But that's one part is because
they had nothing to do with it.
Right, and two, the man who claimed that he liked the show and loved it didn't do anything accurate to the show.
More to come on that. But yeah, we were so disappointed in not knowing now we're not going to get that live action series as of this date on Netflix. But as Rascal mentioned, there is a wonderful series of books covering different arcs and different questions, and we've read quite a few of them, and they are beautifully done and just as entertaining and engaging as the series.
Right. And you definitely would like to check them out, especially if you want to find out what happened to Zuko's mother. You'll definitely get an answer to that in the books. And if you want to see more adventures like little one-shot books that take place during the series that you didn't see animated, or just a continuation of the adventures after saving the world.
And more thing I would like to bring up, I should say Rascal, discovered a book written about Avatar Kyoshi. And it's a very thick novel.
Yes.
I mean, really thick. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. But once you begin reading it, you can't put it down. And this was a wonderful detour, one of the first we've seen, away from the series itself, where you're taken into the full life of a character that appeared for a short time on the series as, I don't want to say as a ghost, but as a ghost, appearing through Aang.
As the past life, yeah.
Right. And the story is fabulous, and it's written in the same dynamic style that Avatar was written, not by Dante
Demetrio, but it was the second creator instead.
Yes, and it's wonderfully written, it's exciting, it's engaging, and if you ever were a fan of Avatar Kyoshi and you found her to be one of your favorites for one of his past lives, this is the book you need to get and read. So many questions are answered. So much is learned about her we never would have known from the series. And after reading the book, they say there's more to come. So this is also another way to get your Avatar addiction satisfied by reading this novel. And I think it's just called Kyoshi.
Yeah, I think it's called The Rise of Kyoshi. Yes. I think that's what it's called.
So definitely want to mention that, so you have an opportunity to take advantage of getting more Avatar and just getting more of what made you love the series as well.
Right.
So we know you've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Even if you were probably someone who possibly may not have liked it, we really want to hear why you didn't, because you'd be like a rare gem. Because so many people we know absolutely love this series.
Right.
But regardless of what you think, let us know how you feel in the comments below.
Yes, and be sure to like, subscribe, and the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and Multiple Pause videos and Avatar content.
And if you're a diamond in the rough and you've never seen this series, go to Netflix, watch it in full, and enjoy it just like you're one of the guys.
Yes.
Or the girls, or the fan base however you like to say it.
So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Ask Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace, because Aang, he can save the world.
And reporters sitting flashing lights.